Today on People Now, an 8-year-old girl in Texas found safe after a dramatic kidnapping. We'll tell you how authorities tracked her down.
Is there a better graduation gift than paying off student loans? How about paying off student loans for an entire graduating class?
Yeah, one billionaire commencement speaker shocked everyone with his huge announcement.
Wedding bells are on the way for Scarlett Johansson and Colin Jost.
Game of Thrones is over. We're breaking down that series finale with our panel of superfans.
Actress Famke Janssen is here telling us all about her new movie.
And country stars Old Dominion are in studio with us.
It's live today on People Now.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to People Now. Good to see you. How you feeling?
Good as you can on a Monday. Let's do it.
Last night, guys, we said goodbye to Game of Thrones.
It's crazy.
Forever. Are we going to be able to move on? We'll find out.
There's
but anyway,
gonna be spin-offs, I think.
There were tears there were laughs. There were some disappointments, but we're going to talk about all of it. It wouldn't be Westeros without killing off a few major characters.
So obviously, spoiler alert here. Stop watching if you haven't seen it yet. We don't want you very upset with us. Some people are not completely satisfied about the finale, maybe wanted some different endings for their favorite characters. So today, we want to know which major death on the show you think deserves a redo. Was it Daenerys? Was it Cersei? Was it Jaime or someone else? Vote in our People poll or just tweet us your answer with the hashtag #PeopleNow.
We're going to check in on those results and break down last night's episode with our full Game of Thrones recap in just a little bit. But for now, here's what you need to know and what's trending today. We kick things off with some positive news. Take a listen.
As you can see, there is a smile on my face. I'm here to report that Salem has been found safe.
That's Buddy Calzada of the Fort Worth Police Department joyfully announcing that 8-year-old Salem Sabatka had been found safe at a hotel. Now, this comes after the little girl was abducted on Saturday night in Texas.
Salem has since been reunited with her family after being taken to a local hospital. 51-year-old suspect Michael Webb has been arrested and faces charges of aggravated kidnapping. Police say he is not related to the little girl. An attorney who might speak on Webb's behalf was not immediately identified.
According to Dallas news outlet KTVT, Salem had been walking with her mother when a car approached them and a man grabbed her. Salem's mother tried to jump inside the vehicle to save her, but the man pushed her out and drove off. There's actually surveillance video of the vehicle speeding off and Salem's mother falling to the ground. Just really dramatic, that story in all ways of how that allegedly played out. And man, I can't imagine as a parent, that moment is horrifying. Yeah.
Yes, police say detectives are still investigating 2 different crime scenes, are waiting to release any additional information. During the press briefing, Calzada thanked 2 members of a local church who saw the vehicle allegedly involved in the kidnapping. This was after police issued an Amber Alert for Salem on social media. Police are calling those 2 people heroes.
After I heard the news, of course, in shock, sitting still like, wait, this is a joke. I think it's lying. Got down, I said, okay, God, thank you. And literally shed a tear, but a tear of joy. And I stood up and I said, you know what, that's it.
All right, that's recent Morehouse College graduate Elijah Nestle Dormius describing how he felt when Georgia billionaire Robert F. Smith announced that he'd be paying off student loans for the school's entire graduating class. Wow. It was this past weekend he made that announcement. Take a look at the moment Smith announced he'd be picking up the bill.
This is my class, 2019. And my family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
Wow. I mean, look at the people in the background kind of sitting in disbelief. That announcement was not only a surprise to students, but administrators as well. So Smith, not just a billionaire, he's actually the wealthiest African-American man in America. He'll be paying off the loans of 396 students, that total reaching approximately $40 million. In a time where presidential political candidates are honing in on the student debt crisis as a campaign focus, Morehouse College President David Thomas sees the gift as one of freedom. Take a look.
People ask me how would I characterize the gift, and I characterize it as a liberation gift because it frees these young men up to make choices driven by their passion and their interests.
Thomas also added that the average Morehouse graduate leaves school with between $26,000 and $30,000 in student loan debt, noting that some students' bills far exceed that range.
Now, you may be wondering, who is Robert F. Smith, this billionaire who decided to make such a generous donation? Well, currently, he's the CEO and co-founder of a private investment firm called Vista Equity Partners. Forbes estimating that he's worth around $5 billion. According to the New York Times, he studied chemical engineering at Cornell, has a master's in business administration from Columbia, and has worked at Goldman Sachs while advising companies like Apple, HP, and Microsoft. Smith is also a music lover, serving as chairman of the board at New York's historic Carnegie Hall. In January of this year, Smith also donated $1.5 million to fund scholarships at the school and to build an outdoor study area.
In addition to the stunning student debt celebration, there was another exciting moment at the Morehouse graduation featuring actress Angela Bassett, who received an honorary doctorate from the historically black college. She snapped some photos with Smith at the ceremony. I would imagine she was surprised by Smith's announcement as well. I mean, that was something, as he said it, if I were a student, I'd be like, wait, can you say that one more time? And what exactly do you mean?
You would almost think it was a joke or something. I mean, it's an amazing gift to give this group of young students. What a great, generous man.
And I like what the president said. Now the students can pursue their passions, their dreams. They don't have to just chase money and just try to work off debt.
Because that can be crippling for a lot of people going off into the real world after
For years and years and years.
Yes.
So congrats to all of them and good work.
Yeah.
On the part of that billionaire.
I know.
All right, the series finale episode of Game of Thrones on Sunday night left many fans disappointed. Despite having arguably the largest cast in television history, there was only a limited amount of characters left for the final episode. Daenerys Targaryen, Jon Snow, Tyrion Lannister, Arya Stark, Sansa Stark, and Bran Stark were among the few characters to make it to the end and meet their fate. Andrea, before we break down everything about the episode, you were kind of, what were your feelings?
It was just boring. I don't know, I just didn't like it. If I'm being honest.
No, that's an honest take.
A lot of people agree, because I remember watching it and I went right onto Twitter. I'm like, I bet the people are gonna also be disappointed. That can't just be me. And a lot of people were disappointed. But I do want to be optimistic and try to, give it its due. It's a great show.
It's also one of those things where the expectations are so high, it's almost impossible to meet them, but
I still love the characters. Anyway, we're gonna get into it.
Spoilers ahead. Look out. Yeah.
The final episode named Bran Stark king after Jon Snow killed Dany, causing Drogon to burn the Iron Throne to the ground. I didn't see that coming, so there's something that was surprising. A side note, Game of Thrones made another production error during the finale. While announcing Bran as king, a water bottle is noticeably by Samwell Tarly's foot. So first you had that Starbucks cup, now this.
Okay, look, we say noticeably. Who noticed that first? I mean, I guess you see it there.
This is my thing. While they were filming, someone's job is to make sure there aren't water bottles by their feet.
I almost feel like they put it in on purpose.
There's no way.
Like,
I know people are saying that, like they're toying with us, but I think that would be really dumb.
Like there's going to be a story later that they went after the whole Starbucks cup thing.
No,
they then went and put this in.
You're ruining it though, Jeremy. It's not like a funny thing.
It ruined everything. That's why we don't like the final episode. All right. The North, if you don't know, will remain an independent state ruled by Sansa, and Bran became king of the Six Kingdoms now, as it said. Jon Snow was sent north of the Wall. Tyrion becomes the Hand of the King. Arya went off on her own. Sam presented the small council with a history book titled A Song of Ice and Fire.
Following the finale, fans did not hold back their reactions, took it to social media, of course. Many viewers expressed their disappointment in Bran taking the throne. So let's take a look at a couple of the tweets now. At Sean Montiel said, "Became all this way for the useless Bran Stark to be the new king of Westeros. Let the log show I am displeased."
At Josh_2 tweeted Bran Stark with a meme of Patrick Star from SpongeBob holding a trophy that says, "For doing absolutely nothing longer than anyone else."
Maybe that's why I didn't like the finale either.
That's my favorite.
I was not a Bran fan. Is anyone? I don't know. Guys, stay with us. A little later in the show, we're breaking down Sunday night's Game of Thrones finale with EW senior digital news editor Jessica Derschowitz and the host of the podcast History of Westeros, Aziz and Ashaya. So stick around for that.
All right, guys. Scarlett Johansson and Colin Jost are getting married. Are we calling them Scar Jost now?
Oh.
Okay,
why ruin a good thing, Jeremy?
Johansson's publicist has confirmed the couple's engaged, but says that there is no wedding date set yet.
So they've been dating for 2 years, made their public debut as a couple in November 2017. They were recently together on the red carpet for the Avengers Endgame premiere. I love when they show up to carpets because they're a hot couple.
Yeah, and we've seen them out and about a lot. This will be the first marriage for Jost, who's a writer on SNL and the co-host of the show's Weekend Update segment. It'll be Johansson's third marriage. She finalized her divorce from second husband Roman Duriak in September of 2017. They share a 4-year-old daughter, Rose.
She was also previously married to Ryan Reynolds from September 2008 to December 2010, which I think a lot of people forgot about.
Yeah, this morning when we were first
whoa.
Yeah, the couple's engagement news comes 2 months after a source told People the two were in love and that they, quote, share many of the same interests and the same sense of humor, which, as we've said, is very important.
That is key. And obviously, he's hilarious and she's really funny too.
Yeah, and that source also added that Scarlett is very happy, so good for them. All right, watch this.
I really feel that nature, being interactive outdoors, has huge benefits on our physical and mental well-being, particularly for young kiddies.
I completely agree. That's Kate Middleton. She helped design and create the new Back to Nature garden set to open for the Chelsea Flower Show in London on Tuesday.
It's all part of a campaign to highlight early childhood development and mental well-being among kids. And who better to test out the garden than our own little ones, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis.
A video posted on the Kensington Royal Twitter shows new footage of the royal kiddos having a blast in the new space. Look, there's so much for kids to do in this kind of environment, and it's the kind of memories they'll always have, right?
Yeah, and Queen Elizabeth will tour the garden later on Monday. I bet she's gonna love it as well.
She will. It looks beautiful. On Monday, Kate also welcomed a group of school kids to the garden. She helped the children create little boats to race them in the stream. They all toasted marshmallows on a campfire. This is great.
That's amazing.
And you can tell throughout the photos and hearing these stories, she's super passionate about this. She's been visiting the garden almost every day in the past week to supervise some of the finishing touches, interacting with the kids, playing with them along the way.
I feel like your kids would love this, Jeremy.
For sure.
Yeah, I grew up in the outdoors, so this would be like totally my jam. Well, we love seeing the behind the scenes of this project and learning about Kate's ultimate goal for the garden. Here's what she had to say about that.
It's a natural, creative place for them to play. And I really hope that this woodland that we've created in a huge collaboration here really inspires families and kids and communities in general to get outside, enjoy nature, enjoy the outdoors, and really spend quality time together.
All right, guys, coming up, Famke Janssen will be here. She's starring in The Poison Rose with Morgan Freeman, John Travolta, Brendan Fraser. Incredible cast. We're going to all the details from her. Plus, everything you need to know about the epic Game of Thrones finale, breaking it down with a little help from the duo behind the History of Westeros podcast. You don't want to miss it.
Life is short, make it sweet.
Love that message. That's Old Dominion's Make It Sweet.
Yeah, we've got 3 of the band's members joining us now, Matthew, Trevor, and Brad. Guys, good to see you.
We love you guys. We love seeing you at the award shows. Aw. Okay, before we get into the music and everything, you guys are big Game of Thrones fans, right?
Yes.
I just want to know, did you like the finale or you just...
I did.
haven't seen it, so please be careful.
Okay.
Hope you weren't listening earlier,
see it.
by the way.
Come on, let's just totally ruin it for him.
Okay, you haven't seen it
It
yet.
was almost totally ruined before we came on air. I was like, do not look at the screen right
it's like
now.
we're looking at
it's
the camera.
all laid
You guys
out
see
right
it?
there.
You guys saw it?
I saw it.
I
watched
haven't
it
even
this
seen
morning.
one episode, so
Okay.
I'm out.
You're
But these
out.
guys are in.
No, I woke up this morning. I'm like, I have to watch it because everyone's going to be talking about it. So I watched it.
Oh, you woke up this
And-
morning, watched it first thing?
I did.
Oh, wow.
And yay or nay? Did you
I
like it?
say yay.
You liked it?
I don't know what
Okay,
everyone's
good.
complaining about. I say
Yeah,
yay.
we like to complain
I
about
mean, you
that.
can't please everybody, so
Yeah.
it's
True.
like,
Yeah, everyone's
I think
going to
they
be
did a good
unhappy.
We have a lot of binging to do.
I know. Years from now, when
You'll never do it.
Yeah, right. When you decide you want to give 70-some hours of your life in a short period of time.
it's a big commitment.
the fairies and
Yeah. Let's talk about this, Matthew. You had surgery on your leg earlier this year.
I did. It's actually my hip surgery.
Oh, hip surgery. How are we doing?
I'm good, man. I'm seem to be moving around. I mean, you were at the show the other night.
That was what I was going to say. Friday night, I was at the show. We loved it. You were everywhere.
Yeah.
No sign of
I'm pretty
injury.
mobile now. I can do.
Yeah.
I'm like 90%.
Okay, good.
So,
yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're doing better. You guys, this is interesting. You guys wrote and recorded the song Make It Sweet in one day.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah, we
very
did.
impressive.
Thank you. We've never done anything like that before, but we just booked studio time and we were like, let's just not go in with any songs in mind. Let's try to write one from scratch and record it. And so what you hear on the radio is what we wrote that day and what we recorded that day.
Wow. And what was it about that song that really clicked for you as a band?
I think it was just like, we went in with just us and just our, mediocre instruments that we all owned. And it was just kind of like the sound that we made. It's kind of felt very pure to our band,
As opposed to like the studio instruments that are generally there with studio
Well,
players and stuff
or
like
as
that.
opposed to like bringing a song in that we wrote, separately, like maybe a couple of us wrote, or one of us wrote with some other people, and then you make a demo of it, and then you bring it in the studio and you try to interpret that demo or change it or whatever. This was just pure from the get-go of us all sitting in a room together, playing as a band with no preconceived notion of what it should be.
Yeah.
And no pressure on whether it should be even successful or not. Let's just see if we can write something and then record it and see what happens.
There's a real purity to that, right? And I'm sure as artists, that's really fulfilling to kind of get to that pure level. It seems like you guys place a lot of value in that. Another powerful song that you have, this really emotional song called Some People Do.
Yeah.
I love the message of it. Talk to me about that, where that lands for you guys, why you want to kind of get that message out.
Yeah, that was a song I wrote with a friend of ours, Jesse Fraser and Shane McAnally, and Thomas Rhett's actually a co-writer on it too. And it was
people
just,
can change.
Yeah, I mean, you get to that point. I mean, it's a very personal song for me. Like, obviously a lot of ups and downs in everyone's life, but you just get to a point sometimes where you know, it can be overwhelming. And for me, that song was very therapeutic to get out of my system and feel like, you know, like I needed to make some changes. And, you know, there's, you know, a long list of like people I've hurt, I'm sure, you know, but you just want to get to those people and say like, I can be a better person. And I think a lot of people can identify with that, whether it be through personal decisions or alcoholism or whatever. You know, I think it's an important message, and it seems to be the feedback that we're getting.
What about for you too? How does that resonate with you, that song?
Yeah, I think everything that he just said about it, it's just a powerful message. And I think as a band, we haven't really put a song like that out yet. So just from what it sounds like, you know, and the type of message sonically and the message that comes from us, it stretches what it means to be an Old Dominion song, which I think is always a good thing, you know, just to show a different side of what we can be.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime, it's sort of like the antithesis of our first hit, Break Up With Him, where like, I think that song was so successful because it was just a true statement that people have, that can relate to and feel. And I think that this song is exactly like
There's
that.
like this strand of country music that I kind of call, I think of it as hopeful sorrow. And this fits right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it resonates so much, but it's like, oh, let me bask in it, but also there's hope in it.
It's okay to be sad for 3 minutes.
It is. You can grieve for 3 minutes.
You guys shared with people back in January, you're almost done with your new album. So updates on that, can we expect it?
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
We have turned it in. Now we're just like playing the corporate game of waiting and talking to our record label and like trying to plan all that out. So we were just talking about it some this morning at breakfast, but hopefully the sooner I mean, if it was up to us, we'd have it out today.
Okay.
All right, now you're currently headlining your own tour. I want to know favorite memory so far on the tour. What was the wildest memory, maybe?
Man, this tour feels to me so good and so special. It's really the first time it's felt like we have built something that is its own thing. So like, I think even the first night of the tour was we walked into Chicago, like Allstate, I think is what is the name of the amphitheater, or the theater or arena, and that was just it. It was an arena. It was 10,000 people, and it was a big show. And you know, we all sort of walked in and had this moment of like, wow, this is the real deal here. You know, like it doesn't get much bigger than this.
That's got to feel really good. And you guys have come so far. One of the pieces of the show that I mentioned to you before, I love you have this acoustic set, talk about all the songs you've written. One of the people you've written for is Michael Ray, who is also going to have a special appearance on your tour, right?
Yeah, he's coming out.
He's coming out?
Yeah, yeah.
Going to be
We
performing
love Michael
with you
Ray.
guys.
He did the ACM Awards with us.
If you could give any relation, he's getting married. If you guys could dole out relationship advice to him, what would it be?
Let's see here. How much time do we have?
My best advice would be don't take advice from us.
He said it. Listen to that song we were just talking about.
That's the best we can give Michael is, please help us.
Michael, how do we do it? All right, well, hopefully he's listening.
No, he seems like he's on the right track.
I think he is. You guys are also appearing in Songland. It's a new TV show, taking people behind the scenes on writing a song. What are you most excited about for this show?
I just think that when we got, the idea got presented to us, just being songwriters first, it was just really exciting to be able to be a part of someone else's career. And I mean, we've all been where those people were, just trying to get your first song recorded or whatever, trying to make a career out of it. And we just love songwriting so much, it just seemed like a natural fit for us.
I love the concept of the show. You guys are killing it. Here's a little game.
Yes.
It's called the People Now Confess Sesh. All you do is grab a little question out of there, pull it out, answer, pass it along. You ready?
I answer?
Okay. Yeah, maybe all three.
Who can be found napping the most on tour? Oh, well, I would say Trevor, just because you can fall asleep in like 0.3 seconds.
Oh, yeah?
But usually I take the nap at like 2 a.m. after the night's done, so that's called going to bed.
That's called a nice sleep.
Except for you don't go to bed, you do it on the couch.
Which is also called passing out.
All right, next one.
Here you go, pass it down.
All right, let's see. Who is your biggest celebrity crush? I don't know why, but for me, it's Jessica Alba.
Yeah, I know why.
You don't know why? I think we all know why.
I guess I do know why.
I don't know
Like one of the most gorgeous women ever.
No idea why this
Shocking.
woman would be on your radar. Have you ever met her?
Nope.
Okay. One day, it'll happen.
Well, she was sitting on this very couch, so.
Not long ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How long ago?
It was actually
It's gonna get creepy.
Exactly where.
Exactly where.
Okay.
All right.
My biggest pop culture guilty pleasure. Huh. I mean, everybody's on the Old Town Road
Oh, yeah.
train right now, and I listened to it the other day, and I was like, this is good.
In country music, do you have to kind of, yeah, in the country music world, do you have to kind of pretend you don't like that song?
I don't know. It's a mix, right? Like some people think it's like making fun of country music. Some people think it's definitely not country music. I mean, when you hear especially the Billy Ray Cyrus version, that was like the perfect pairing for it.
That was
like
Chris Stapleton singing.
Right.
Like I was like, is he like totally going for it right now? And like he's endorsing the song.
Well, I kind of like it too. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. We love you guys. Tickets for the Make It Sweet tour are on sale now, and go listen to Some People Do. It's out now as well. All right, are you ready to hear about who makes the best sandwich in your state? This is gonna get me so hungry. People teamed up with online restaurant guide The Infatuation to find the country's most epic sandwiches. So people considered expert reviews from The Infatuation, also took into account independent diner feedback.
All right, so let's take a look at a few of them right now. In New York, the winner is the Italian at Boehlke's. Boehlke's is located in Manhattan's West Village. The deli is known for its grab-and-go heroes. The Italian sandwich is next level, filled with prosciutto, spicy ham capicola, and soppressata, along with fresh mozzarella, lettuce, tomatoes, and roasted peppers. Mouthwatering. I just don't know how you get all of it in one bite.
I don't think you can, right?
Look at that.
It's so huge. Looks amazing though. Well, the winner in California is the Larry Mantle at Wax Paper. There's 2 locations in LA, Frogtown and Chinatown. Their original location in Frogtown is inside a shipping container.
Really cool vibe. They serve food until they sell out, so you gotta get there early if you want it. It consists of a bologna and salami sandwich with red onion, pickled peppers, lettuce, pecorino pepato cheese, spicy aioli, and oregano vinaigrette on a sesame roll. This one looks amazing.
That also looks really good. Also really big, hard to eat. Let's move on to this one. Best sandwich in Texas is the Tipsy Texan at Franklin Barbecue. So that's a barbecue joint in Austin. You should expect to wait at least an hour. Hugely popular. The sandwich has chopped beef brisket, sausage, coleslaw, and pickles between 2 buns. I'm a big fan of pickles, so I think I would really like this.
All right, the winner in South Carolina is the fried oyster roll at Leon's Fine Poultry and Oyster Shop. Andrea, you're loving this one, I can tell.
Yeah, I love oysters, so this is my jam.
The restaurant is housed in an old auto body shop, so that's the vibe. You can go for the chicken, the catfish, the famous fried oyster roll topped with lettuce, tomato, avocado, a creamy comeback sauce, and chives.
Wow.
So that one's probably
That's my favorite by far. That one I definitely would want to try out. What about you?
I would probably go, there's yours. I would go back to that original, Italian at the top. That looked amazing.
All very good. Just in time for lunch. All right, Game of Thrones has finally come to an end after 8 seasons, but the finale has left its fans pretty divided. Here to break it down for us is Entertainment Weekly's senior digital news editor, Jessica Derschowitz, and Aziz and Ashaya from the History of Westeros podcast. Thank you all for joining us.
All right, so much to break down. Let's get right into it. The climactic moment, some would say the anticlimactic moment. Jon Snow killed the love of his life, the Khaleesi, to save Westeros from madness. Jessica, your reaction to that starting?
I had a feeling that was going to happen, but it was still pretty surprising to see. You build up to this whole thing. Dany takes this turn towards madness, and it becomes clear that she's not going to stop now that she's taken King's Landing. It's just going to be the next thing and the next thing.
Just a growing beast.
Yes, exactly, and more people are going to die. And Jon Snow is he's a good guy, and as much as he loved her, he just could not let that happen.
He's honorable. At the end of the day, he will always serve the greater good, right?
Right, exactly, even if that means murder.
Yeah, right. Aziz and Ashaya, did you see this coming? What'd you think?
I mean, it's long been predicted, the idea of Jon, we call it Nissa-ing Daenerys, the idea of him stabbing her through the heart. It did feel like it happened so quickly, and Jon himself, he doesn't feel like a hero for it. He's very broken up about doing this. He says it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, ultimately it's a tragedy. People have been rooting for Daenerys for 8 straight seasons, only to have her turn villain very quickly. And that was jarring for a lot of folks. But for a lot of other people, they thought it was surprising, an interesting twist, the kind of thing that you don't see on TV. They praised the bold choice of it. And it's very unique for TV, so you got to give them credit for taking a risk.
You have one meltdown and burn the city to the ground, and then you have to stab through the heart. Okay. All right. I thought Drogon was going to burn Jon to ashes after this. Instead, he takes his wrath out on the Iron Throne. Aziz and Ashaya, did you like that spin, and why do you think that Drogon did that?
I, for one, very much like them destroying the Iron Throne. I've long wanted the Iron Throne to be destroyed, even if, I mean, ultimately someone does still control the Six Kingdoms now. I thought they would be fractured. And as for him attacking Jon or not, I mean, I think he can clearly sense how sad and broken up Jon is about this, if you can see how intelligent Drogon is. So it makes perfect sense for me that Drogon didn't kill him.
Yeah, it's very symbolic that the child of Daenerys recognized this symbol as something that was a pursuit that she maybe shouldn't have had, something that ruined her, that maybe broke her brain, perhaps you could say. That's maybe not the right choice of words, but maybe in his dragon mind, that's what he was thinking.
No, I think that makes sense. Yeah, Jessica, what about the moment Drogon is nudging Daenerys? It's kind of like trying to wake her up. It was emotional. Did that tug on the heartstrings for you?
It definitely did. You think about like a child, like he is her son, and it's just like, oh, this is what happened to you. Like, are you okay? And then there's that realization that she's not, and that leads to him picking her up and flying her off to parts unknown.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna ask. Does anyone have any clue where Drogon took her body? Do you have a guess?
Some guesses might be Valyria, which was like the ancestral home of the Targaryens, but I mean, who knows?
Cliffhanger.
You guys agree with that?
Valyria, yeah. Specifically because we have seen Drogon in Valyria in the show, specifically in the past. So that's one thing.
When he flew off from Daenerys the first time, that's where he went, so it makes sense.
By the way, there's so many little nuggets that are like, okay, the next chapter, whenever the spinoff comes out, we're going to find out all these things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Tyrion. A lot of people thought he was going to die. Jessica, you surprised by the survival?
You know, he's a cunning guy. It looked like he was painted into a corner. Like, he's been on trial for murder and for scheming all these other times and has gotten off scot-free. And
he can always talk his way out or deal his way out, wheel and deal.
He's a very good statesman, which is why he's survived so long in this Game of Thrones. And it really looked like it was going to happen. But this was Peter Dinklage's Emmy moment. Like, him telling Jon that as much as it kills him to do this, that he needs to murder the woman he loves. And he lays out the case for why she's irredeemable and why he has to go through with this. And it's a really masterful scene between the two of them.
Yeah, I agree. Aziz and Shaya, how important was Tyrion and Jon's talk for how things panned out?
He was really speaking to the audience, I think. He was explaining why it had to be. As much as he was explaining it to Jon, he was speaking to the fans, saying, look, this is how it is. This is what's going to happen. These are going to be the consequences. It's painful for you, Jon. It's painful for us fans. Yeah. But this is how it has to be. And I totally agree. It was a really amazing moment. The acting was off the charts, as always. Something that Game of Thrones has always been just perfect with is the acting, and they really nailed it here in the final moments.
Yeah, when you have to think that they knew they had to give it their all for this final episode. How about one of the most conclusive, big developments? All hail Bran the Broken. Did you see this coming?
I don't know if anybody really did.
No, I don't think so.
When people were laying out their like fan favorites, who they thought was going to end up on the Iron Throne, you would think Sansa, maybe Jon, maybe Dany.
He was way down the list.
I was surprised, but when we got into it, I can see why he ended up being the right choice now. The thing that Dany always said she wanted to do was break the wheel. And she didn't get to do that, but in the aftermath of her very, very, very short tenure as the Queen of Westeros, we end up with this not democratically elected, but sort of representational monarchy, and he is somebody who doesn't want to rule, which makes him the right ruler.
Yeah.
I'm just not a Bran fan, so maybe that's why I didn't like the finale, because I'm like, Bran of all people. Aziz and Shaya, what were your thoughts on Bran? I mean, also, it seems like that maybe he wanted the throne all along, but he's able to act cool, because he kind of conceded. He
just knew what would happen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wanted one final shot of the Night King's eyes opening on, on Bran. We didn't, but it was a common theory enough. And while I don't think either of us has ever been thinking that Bran would end up on the throne, going back to the beginning of the books or anything like that, it makes sense. And obviously now that the finale's happened, we're going to have to dive in and figure that out. But there is precedent for this sort of council event. They've had great councils in the past where they had to decide who was going to be king. And so they're
kind of made sense in that light that they came to this spot. Well, who's going to be king now?
Well,
and when we were thinking about how this might play out, we guessed that if Daenerys was killed and Jon doesn't want the throne, then where would they go from there? And like y'all said at the beginning, the cast has been reduced so much. You just kind of look at every single character and say, well, could that person be king?
Right.
Well, what about Davos? Okay, well, what about Bronn? And then eventually you get to Bran, and it's funny to think about Daenerys wanted to break the wheel. Well, she never got to Bran's chair, thankfully.
Yeah. Sansa, now the Queen of the North. What are we thinking about that, Jessica?
That was probably one of my favorite moments of the whole series. At the very end, when you see her getting crowned and she's wearing that beautiful dress, and everyone's chanting "Queen in the North."
She looks so fierce.
She is very much her father's daughter, but also has this wonderful independent streak all her own. And you can see, like, she just wanted the North is very independent. She wanted to lead it, and her subjects are excited for that.
Also visually, it was like this really great culmination,
also because
right?
when she started on this show, you know, some people kind of saw her as a weaker character, and then to see her in that powerful position, that kind of gave me chills. That was one of my favorite moments. Aziz and Ashaya, why do you think no one else, especially the Iron Islands, stayed independent after the North chose to remain independent? What are your thoughts on that?
Iron Islands were my big question. I was like, during that council, you'd think Yara would have said something, or maybe she felt like they didn't quite earn it as much. She went off and did her own thing.
Maybe
I
they'll
also
make a move
think,
later.
yeah, that is what I was really thinking, is that Yara takes a look at Arya, she takes a look at Sansa. She's like, I'm just gonna rebel later.
Yeah. Gonna consider it first.
6 kingdoms will go down to 5 kingdoms.
Yeah, right.
On the next spinoff.
Yeah, on the next spinoff. So let's talk about this. Jon returns to the North, gets a reunion with Ghost. Jessica, did you like how Jon's story kind of wrapped up?
I think that's the big reunion everyone was waiting for, right? I mean, like, everything else aside, when Ghost went off and Jon didn't even get to, like, give him a little pat on the head, people were really upset.
Yeah.
And you get that kind of closure together. He got sent back up to the North beyond the Wall, and he got to go off with Tormund and the Free Folk, and with Ghost along with them.
That CGI money coming through there.
Finally.
And Arya going west of Westeros. She's always been a free spirit. Kind of makes sense. Any guesses on what she finds Aziz and Ashaya?
Yeah, actually, in Fire and Blood, which is the most recent book in A Song of Ice and Fire, which is a history book, there is a character, Alyssa Farman, who goes west of Westeros, and you get some reports of some islands that she comes across. And I won't spoil you guys if you choose to read this book, but let's just say that George has been writing in characters with parallels to the main series, and I think in this character we're seeing an inspiration for Arya Stark.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Let's talk about this. It doesn't look like any of the Starks are going to meet each other ever again. Who was wiping away the tears at the Stark farewell?
Out of the characters?
Yeah.
You know, I think that I was really touched by Arya and Jon saying goodbye to one another. I think those were 2 characters that we were so excited to see together again this season, and now everyone's going their separate ways again, and that was really unfortunate.
It's kind of tearing.
Yeah.
A little bit,
A little
right?
bit.
All right, well, looking back now, overall, are you guys satisfied with how Game of Thrones ended? Let's start with you guys, Aziz and Ashaya.
Yeah, I give it a thumbs up for
Really?
me.
You guys are happy with it? Okay.
I'm satisfied. There are things that I was dissatisfied with, as there are in pretty much any episode of most media. But overall, I think that the ending story beats are where they're going to end up and are poetic and meaningful.
Absolutely, and of course, as an experience, the Game of Thrones was really fun to talk week to week for 8 to 9 years, and we made a lot of friends along the way. The real Game of Thrones are the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. So Starbucks cups and water bottles aside. You're still on board. Jessica, how about for you?
You know, like, if we're talking about the final episode, there were things I liked about it and things I didn't. It's impossible to make a finale that's going to make everybody happy.
No, right.
It's just, and especially with a show like this where there isn't any like one main villain to vanquish, you're being left with some ambiguous things. But the series as a whole, I think we're not going to find anything like this for a long time.
I was so glad because I caught up for the season.
Did
so I
you?
got to watch it in real time. Yeah, so it was a real treat after having binged the other seasons. So I had a great time watching along with everyone and going on social media.
It is truly appointment television in an era where our viewing habits are so fragmented now.
Right.
It was so communal, having everyone come together every Sunday night, react on social media, talk about it the next morning.
That's probably the saddest part to let go.
Well, yeah, because it feels like it's going to be a long time before we have another show like this.
Everyone's
so
got to coalesce around some other.
Before we let you guys go, we asked our viewers which major death they think deserves a redo in our People poll. So let's take a look at this.
Results.
I vote Cersei.
Here we go.
Yes.
Cersei, yeah.
I wanted Cersei to have a much more satisfying death.
And then Daenerys came in second. There we have a couple. Lord.
Tywin Lannister.
Wow, Tywin. Wow.
Hot pie.
I think he didn't die.
I know. Well, they want him to die, apparently.
It's like should have.
Well, I want to know with you guys, was there a death that you would want to redo? Aziz and Ashaya.
That is a very good question. I chose Jamie for your poll. That's the death I wanted to have a slightly differently, which kind of implies Cersei has a different death too, I suppose, but that's who I chose.
I was hoping that maybe they weren't actually crumbled by the rocks, because you didn't like fully see them die the last episode. Because Cersei was my favorite character, so I was really.
Well, and in this series, like any little window of possibility for them to survive, you never know.
They really,
It's almost
maybe
like
they
they're
were
doing it on
like still
purpose.
trapped under there, so but they weren't.
Did you
I guess I'll go with Night King. I'll go with
Night King, okay.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
Just give us another episode or two more. Make it a little bit of a longer night.
Sure.
Yeah, but a little later so we can actually watch what's going on.
I do wish that Jamie and Cersei had gone out a different way, but it almost was fitting in the nature of the show. You survive all of these other assassination attempts and coups, and then you just die under a pile of rubble.
In some ways poetic, in other ways
A
disappointing.
little bit. I wish that when he left Winterfell to go back to her, I'm not the only one, but a lot of people were thinking, oh, he's going to go and like finish her by his own hand. And it was like, no, he's going back because he loves her, and then they're going to die together.
All right, guys, we'll send out a group email of what we're all coalescing around next. What show? I don't know. We'll find out. Thank you for being here. It's good to talk to you. Make sure to tune into the History of Westeros podcast here, even more from Aziz and Ashaya. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, in order to celebrate the season premiere of Beat Shazam on Fox, we have a quick get-to-know-you game we played with Corinne Foxx. Of course, Corinne is the daughter of the show's host, Jamie Foxx. She serves as the show's resident DJ, so let's get to know her a little more. Take a look.
We got a little game, a little rapid fire.
Okay,
You ready
all
for
right,
this?
let's see.
Your absolute favorite meal?
Pizza. I'm gluten-free now, but I love pizza. Like, it's the one thing that like I would get stomach aches for.
Toppings?
Pepperoni.
What is your favorite movie of all time?
Maybe like Avatar?
Looks like you. This is your Avatar.
That was like pretty game-changing.
Yeah,
I saw it like
yeah.
7 times in theaters with my dad.
Best concert you've ever seen?
I saw Kanye West Glow in the Dark tour with Rihanna opening, like back in the day.
When do you feel sexiest?
When I'm like right out of the shower and like there's no makeup on and it's just like the real you. I don't like, I mean, this is cute, but I like being stripped down.
When do you feel strongest?
You know what? I feel strongest when I'm with my little sisters and like giving them, I mean, they're 10 and 11, but like really guiding them and giving them advice. One of them is going into middle school and I'm like, okay, girl, let's get real. Like, you know?
Dream movie role?
I want to play a superhero so bad.
Ooh, what would, any ideas? Or?
Anything. I just want to be able to like fly and like, I've always wanted to.
Jamie Foxx as a dad. Let's strip away the sort of comedy, the music. Just maybe the moment that you remember that was sort of the sweetest moment, like, man, I love this guy as a father.
I think just in general, my dad is the most, I don't want to get teary-eyed, like supportive dad in the world. The fact that he believes in me, like without a doubt, like it gives me the confidence to do so much. And like that man, like I can just see sometimes like when we're shooting Beat Shazam, he'll like look at me in his like eyes. He's just like, my little girl.
Very excited to be here with Famke Janssen. You know her as Jean Grey from the X-Men movies. Her role as Susan Hargrave on The Blacklist Redemption. Now she's starring in the new film The Poison Rose, along with John Travolta, Morgan Freeman, Brendan Fraser. A lot going on.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We have a lot to get to, but let's start with your new movie, The Poison Rose. So watch this.
I'd like to hire you. I mean, that's what you do now, right? You're a private investigator.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I'm gonna need all the help I can get. Still a small town and people have nothing to do with talk.
Talk about what?
Oh, come on. How many 22-year-old athletes do you see convulsing on a football field?
Well, he got hit pretty hard. And that happens.
Yeah, well, I've already heard rumors. They don't think this was football related.
Definitely a very chilling clip there. So in the movie, you play Jane Hunt, mother of a girl who's accused of killing her husband, and a classic whodunit thriller. This one's very dark, though. What makes this different than other thrillers we've seen?
Well, this is, I mean, it's set in the 70s, so we start off with that, and it stars John Travolta and Morgan Freeman, who we know from 70s movies, so that was really wonderful. And it's really a classic film noir in the way that Double Indemnity and The Big Sleep and all these movies were made, Maltese Falcon, and, you know, films that we just don't see much of anymore today. Like a private eye going back into his hometown of Galveston, Texas to investigate something, and then of course he unravels this big web of lies.
Yeah.
Which I'm very much part of.
Yeah. And then film noir. Were you a fan of film noir?
Very much
Yeah.
so. I love old movies. Love 70s films, and also films from the 20s and 30s, and 50s, like the noirs and all of that.
I would imagine as an actor, though, yeah, really just a fun experience to be able to dive into those eras, right? And to kind of really embody that sensibility that you're just, and the tone and the textures of it. You're this mother.
The costumes.
Yeah, the costumes,
Yes.
all of it. So living in this small town full of gossip and everything else, that's the character, that's where we're at. What did you love most about her? What did you really want to kind of communicate about her to kind of get it right?
She's a broken woman. I feel that I understand those women a lot somehow when I play them. I can relate to that. She's just, there's so many secrets about her, which is really fun to play characters where whatever you see at the surface is not quite what's, underneath.
Because that's life. That's how we all kind of are.
Exactly.
You're working alongside, you mentioned John Travolta and his daughter, Ella Blue.
Ella Blue, yes.
What was it like being with both of them on set?
Oh, wonderful. It's such a beautiful relationship between the two of them. And it was, really, I love working with John anyway. I think we have good chemistry, and he's such a nice man, and I'm such a huge fan of his work. Just there, whoever could have played in Saturday Night Fever, the character that he did other than him. I mean, it's so iconic. And then Pulp Fiction. I mean, everything. His whole body of work.
Yeah.
Was he kind of a stage dad with Ella there?
No, I mean, it was very sweet. That's mostly what, I mean, she is just so sweet as a person, and so is he, so it was just really nice to see.
I feel like, okay, you've got the seriousness of the content of the project, and the script is what it is, but because of that relationship that they have and him seeming like a fun guy, I feel like the tone on set would possibly be exactly the opposite of serious at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think with most movies or projects that we do, we try to keep it light in between takes, because nobody wants to dwell in darkness all the time.
Of course.
And this one's not really, it's not like it's dark in the, oh my God, it's so depressing. It's more melancholy. And beautiful, and it's very nice to look at. And
For when you think Travolta previous to this, what version of him was it? Saturday Night Fever?
Saturday
was it
Night
Grease?
Fever.
Yeah,
That's
was
really my go-to movie, because I love dancing. It's one of my big hobbies in life. I love dancing, and the music is so great, and the soundtrack is wonderful. So
Was it tempting to ask him about that stuff, or were you kind of like,
we talked a little bit about it, but it was, what's interesting to see is that how much time they gave him to prep for a movie like that, to learn how to dance. So I mean, he's a great dancer. Obviously, he doesn't need any training, but in today's world, I feel like I get hired. It's like, oh, can you be in Spain tomorrow? I'm like,
right.
Oh, okay. And do a British accent. I'm like, sure.
Louis, let's talk about the accent. So you have a Southern accent in
Southern accent in this,
Yeah,
yes.
it takes place in Texas, but you shot it in Savannah.
Yes.
How did you get the accent down, or do you have?
I work with dialect coaches.
Yeah.
Yes, because I'm filming right now in Madrid. And I have to do British, and I'm working. It's very complicated.
My goodness,
because,
good for you.
Well, it's extra complicated because the director is Spanish. The entire crew is Spanish. My co-stars, like Liam Cunningham, is one of my co-stars. He's Irish, and so we have, Game of Thrones, everyone knows who he is, and so we have this mixture of all these different dialects on set, and I really sort of feel like I'm floating. I'm watching The Crown obsessively, going, please help me get through this.
That's a very good point of reference, yeah.
Right?
With the Southern accent, is there a certain phrase or something that you would say to kind of get into it?
No, with the British accent is more where I have exercises that help me get there.
Yeah.
With the Southern, there's you can get so specific in terms of what area are you from. It's Galveston, Texas, and so I worked with a dialect coach, and then he got me tapes, audio to listen to from a woman in that town who was talking, so you can really get the specifics of. And then Robert Patrick was in the film, was actually from there, so he was great to have around.
Kind of bounce off of.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a bit. One of your most beloved characters, Jean Grey, the X-Men series, of course. Do you stay sort of connected to those superhero movies as they come out? Are you still a fangirl about that stuff?
I never was quite a fangirl about any of them. I watched them because, we went to the premieres with all the cast together and whatever. But I tend to watch a lot of documentaries and darker stuff. And,
Okay. So not so much. You mentioned Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones fan? You've never seen it?
Yes.
So then you have no idea. The next thing.
No idea.
Is that I was going to ask about Sophie Turner coming back with that new Dark Phoenix movie, but you haven't seen her in Game of Thrones. so you don't necessarily even know what
Right,
about her
but
work
I'm sure it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And when I have 87 hours of my life to dedicate, I will watch it. But in the interim, I watch smaller,
As someone who knows that character, Jean Grey, so well, what qualities does she need to sort of embody to get it right?
She doesn't need to do anything. She knows what she's doing. She doesn't need my advice. I'm sure she did an amazing job, and I can't wait to see it.
When you think back on your time playing that role, though, what is going to be the thing that you remember the most, or the thing that you will always latch on to?
It was just such a great experience. I've been in 5 of the movies, including the Wolverine one, and just remembering all my, experiences with my fellow cast members, and we just had a great time. We traveled all over the world to promote it, so it was just, I have nothing but fond memories.
And talk about an incredible fan base, right?
Yeah. Yes, I know, it's great.
Always connected, that's great. Let's talk about this, staying busy, a new movie you'll be working on with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We saw some headlines about.
I just finished that,
The
called Postcard Killings.
So how was that experience
That was
working with him?
dark.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Again,
dark, now
yeah,
that's
right.
dark. I mean, that's much
You gravitate
darker than,
towards-
no. Gravitate darks to, it
you.
gravitates towards me. I don't gravitate towards it. But I would love to do comedy, thank you very much, and dance a lot in movies.
Just putting it out
there. So yeah, that one's very dark. And then tonight we have the premiere of Now They See Us, which is based on the Central Park 5 Ava DuVernay Netflix miniseries. So that's coming out this week as well.
Yeah, we have some people coming in for that. So
Yes.
A lot going on. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, what was the experience working with him
He's
on this
great.
movie?
Yeah, such a nice guy. And I mean, it was tough because it's about a serial killer who kills our child. So
Yeah.
it's really not like,
It's intense.
we're gonna have so much fun on
No,
set
right.
right now. But that was good. And then I did something called The Capture, which is a 6-part miniseries for BBC that will come out later this year.
Like you are in so many things right now. While we were doing our research, though, we did notice you're not on social media.
Not at all.
Which is so rare. So
Right?
what kind of is the reason for
It's
that?
probably career death for me, but I just never.
Apparently not.
No, yeah. You're working more than most people.
Well, I'm doing all these projects and nobody knows about them because I can't promote them in the way that everybody else does it, apparently. But I don't know. I guess because I'm so private that it just feels like an invasion of my own privacy that I've guarded so much over time. And I wouldn't know what to talk about other than the chocolate that I love or the dance lesson that I took or I don't know.
I'm immediately interested in the chocolate you love.
Yeah,
please
I
let
love
us know.
chocolate and coffee, and yes, it would have a picture of coffee every single day on my Instagram if I had an Instagram.
It's like a saying about coffee.
And everybody would be so bored of it. I would have 2 followers.
Okay, well, we're going to hope that at some point you get on social media. Until then, we'll be watching all these incredible projects that you're doing. We really appreciate you taking time for us.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on everything. Guys, check out The Poison Rose. It hits select theaters on demand Friday, May 24th. All right, coming up tomorrow, we will be joined live by the cast of Ava DuVernay's new Netflix limited series, When They See Us. We were just mentioning it. It tells the story of the Central Park 5 when 5 young black men were convicted for a rape they did not commit. A wild, compelling, tragic story.
Yes, plus on a different note, we'll be recapping tonight's episode of The Bachelorette and Hannah B's dramatic search for love. Thank you so much for watching. For now, we leave you with one last thing from Vanessa Hudgens. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Hudgens, and this is One Last Thing. My last big splurge was to my contractor to remodel my home. Last show I binged watched was Big Little Lies.
Gotta have each other's backs, right? Who's got yours?
The last song stuck in my head is I Can Change by LCD Sound System. Everyone's like, we get it, Vanessa, you can change.